Does childhood bullying build character? What is the relationship between sense of self-worth and free will? Could a culture of bullying negatively impact the common good? And if so, what culture should we strive to establish instead? All of that and more in today's video. Can bullying build character? Chances are, if you're a millennial or Gen Z viewer from the West, your immediate answer to that question would be no. Schools and television networks have been very proactive in implementing anti-bullying campaigns in the name of promoting good mental health and tolerance of diversity. However, not too long ago, answers to that question, even in the West, would not have been as unanimous. If you go back to the golden age of Hollywood, an era characterized by the Hays Code, which heavily regulated films so that movies would promote good moral messaging, you'll find stories such as The Bells of St. Mary's that feature subplots about a young boy growing in confidence and character by publicly standing up to bullies and finally being embraced by his peers, all with the approval of an authority figure such as a priest, teacher, or parent who acted as a mentor to prepare them for the confrontation. It isn't that these stories portrayed bullying as a good thing, per se, but they did imply that bullying was an inevitable part of life, and that confronting bullies was a kind of rite of passage in which young boys learned to stand up for themselves and grow into confident men. To a young viewer, it might seem puzzling that previous generations would view bullying this way. Why should authority figures turn a blind eye to bullying, claiming boys will be boys, and that boys will grow into men with a healthy sense of masculinity by working things out themselves, if we even assume that bullying is a predominantly male phenomenon, instead of trying to teach people from a young age a culture of mutual respect? Well, there are two main reasons why this kind of view prevailed. First, it was commonly believed that eradicating bullying in childhood, and abuse of power in adulthood, is an impossible task. Since life is always going to be characterized by hardship and opposition, people must learn from a young age how to face this opposition if they are going to prevail. Second, some cultures believed that bullying is a useful social tool to help curb excessive individualism and liberality by promoting conformity to the characteristics society deems virtuous and desirable. How might one respond to these arguments that bullying builds character? Well, let's start with a point of agreement. Society should promote a culture that enables people to grow in virtue, confidence, and personal strength. Assuming we agree with that principle, the foundational point of disagreement is not whether we want people to grow, but whether bullying, and resistance to it from the victim, effectively achieves that end. As mentioned previously in my mental health video, part of one's ability to become virtuous depends on how free one's will is to choose what he knows is good. While there are many factors that can limit freedom of will, mental health impairments are one of the most significant potential limitations. How then does bullying impact mental health long term? Thankfully, we can answer this question pretty accurately because there's a significant amount of psychological research on the topic. According to a study on the long-term effects of bullying, published in 2015 by Dieter Volke and Suzette Tanya Larea in the National Library of Medicine, adults with a history of being victims of childhood bullying display a higher prevalence of mental health problems, such as generalized anxiety, panic disorders, depression, agoraphobia, and psychosis. Furthermore, adults with a history of bullying report, on average, lower educational qualifications and job earnings, poorer financial management, less social confidence, and greater difficulty keeping and maintaining friends. Why? Well, even if someone stands up to a bully, it is common to internalize frequently made abusive comments long after they have stopped being made, such that the victim either tacitly accepts the abusive accusations as true, or feels that he must constantly prove to himself that the abusive comments are false, often by seeking out the affirmation of others, sometimes in relationship dynamics that don't respect the personal dignity of the affirmation seeker. This negatively impacts as mentioned in my mental health video, a person's sense of agency, the sense of control one has over his life, and potentially subjects someone to trauma that may require psychological treatment to resolve. Therefore, the notion that bullying is a rite of passage that helps a young child grow into a confident adult is contradicted by peer-reviewed empirical evidence, which suggests, on the contrary, that bullying actually makes it harder to become a confident adult. What about the notion that bullying is a social tool to help promote virtuous and desirable characteristics? Well, as mentioned in my previous video on civility, the common good cannot be maintained if the foundation of social cohesion, namely respect for the equal personal dignity of all people, is disrupted. While it is okay for cultures to have certain normative standards of behavior, bullying is not a constructive way of encouraging people to grow in virtue or conform to prevailing social standards, especially since the mental health impacts of bullying can be so dire. What about the notion that conflict is inevitable, such that standing up to bullies is the way that people should learn to stand up for themselves? Well, we can address this matter rather easily. Should adults handle conflict in the home or the workplace the same way that a kid handles bullying on the playground? If people handled adult conflict in the same manner, they'd likely end up in jail. Conflict resolution is complicated and goes a lot deeper than just generally standing up for yourself. While it's true that we will likely never succeed at eliminating all bullying, just as with crime, we don't assume that laws will infallibly succeed at preventing bad people from doing illegal things. But we do generally recommend that people respond to crime by reporting it to the proper authorities, defending themselves proportionately when strictly necessary, and escaping from the situation when it is possible to do so. So if bullying doesn't build character, what should we promote instead? Well, as mentioned in my Civility Matters video, we should strive to the best of our ability to promote social cohesion through the establishment of a culture that encourages people to treat each other with respect, charity, honesty, and justice, respecting each other's equal personal dignity. While it is true that a positive culture cannot completely eradicate bullying or crime, a well-ordered society can make a positive difference in preventing them while establishing a social support network for people who find themselves to be victims. What should you do if you find yourself to be a victim of bullying? If you are currently suffering from bullying, consider speaking to a trusted adult about what you are going through. If you were victimized in the past and are still dealing with the impacts, consider seeking out the help of a qualified mental health professional who respects your values. When you're in the midst of the ongoing suffering that bullying causes, it can be hard to see a way out. If there's any encouragement I can share with you through this video, it's that life changes in unexpected ways. We often find happiness through avenues we never thought were in the cards while we were in the midst of suffering. It may be hard to appreciate life when things are so difficult, but by persevering through suffering and coming out on the other side, you may find that it is possible to grow, not by learning how to fight for the respect of bullies, but rather by learning how to love and respect yourself. Your life is worth living, and we're here for you to cheer you on the journey to the other side of your pain. So, what do you think? Should we fight to establish a culture that resists bullying, or should we believe that bullying maintains character? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified when new videos are released. Also be sure to like this video so that YouTube recommends it to others. If you'd like to support this channel for as little as $1 a month, you can also become a supporter on Patreon. Links in the description of this video. I look forward to exploring a culture of civility with you. No matter who you are or what you've been through, we can each contribute our unique experiences towards fighting for the common good and making the world a better place. I'm happy to stand by your side. Stay strong, and as Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. Peace be with you. This has been The Philosopher.